Ladies and gents, welcome back. We're just going after the bad guys. It's for your safety, and it'll never come back and harm you, says every tyrant that tries to regulate an industry. Here we go, Canada. Many Canadians have no idea what's going to happen once Bill C-11 is passed by the NDP liberal government. Time for good Canadians to cross the floor. Bill C-11, the Online Streaming Act, enables the government to control social media. Yeah, that's right. Your posts on social media, my posts on this social media that you're watching me on, whether you're watching me on Rumble or watching me on YouTube. Welcome either way to the video. Here we have from the Toronto Sun Fury. The Trudeau Liberals remain obsessed with censoring the internet. 1 year ago, there was a lot of noise about a federal Liberal government looking for ways to regulate the internet content and effectively give themselves the power to censor people's social media posts. That was then known as Bill C-10, was seen as a backdoor way of to bring the creeping censorship by giving the Canadian Radio and Television and Telecommunications Commission, CRTC for short, the powers to regulate what they termed user-generated content posted online in the same way the regulatory body currently has domain over radio and TV. Now, if you live in Canada, you probably understand how bad Canadian radio and TV currently is and has been for some time. And the reason why a lot of people have turned to the internet, we probably don't want to follow that scheme. The concern appears across the media landscape, the political spectrum. Your free speech is at risk with Ottawa's push to regulate online content, expert warns. Read the headline over at the CBC. What then unfolded was that experts in the field pointed out that the flaws with the legislation, and the Liberals said the bill would be revised to address the concerns. All good. Nothing to see here, folks. Controversy over, except it's not over. It's only getting crazier. The Trudeau government's plan to censor the internet are back with a vengeance, and now they're using the Russian invasion of Ukraine as a pretext to push Canadians into going along with it. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly has made multiple statements to this effect in the past couple of weeks. So you're carrying water for Putin if you disagree with the Canadian government. And well, we can't have that. We can't have people spreading misinformation on the interwebs and Canadians getting the wrong idea of what's going on. It's always a pretext. Social media companies need to do more to prevent propaganda. They funded propaganda in the CBC to the tune of $1.4 billion last year. But I digress. Social media companies need to do more to prevent propaganda and to counter any form of disinformation, Jolie said at an event at the University of Toronto's Monk School 2 weeks ago. The problem is not only happening in Russia, it is happening on a new virtual battlegrounds, which are social media companies, she added. I'm a soldier in the battleground of misinformation, apparently, because mark my words, it'll be this channel as well that'll be regulated under Bill C-11. A few days later, she appeared to the House of Commons Foreign Affairs Committee and was served up a question by the Liberal MP on the committee about countering Russian disinformation. Social media companies need to do more, Jolie said as a part of her answer. They need to make sure they recognize states have jurisdiction over them and they're not technology platforms, but they are content producers. This is our way collectively to make sure that we can really be able to have strong democracies in the future, because this war is being fought with the 21st century tools, including social media. Now, this is an interesting definitions, he says, they're not platforms, but they are content producers. Now, this would give new legal jurisdiction if they actually made this a legal precedent, because the under Section 230, and Section 230 is under the Communications Decency Act, and this is a United States law, but a lot of times Canadian law follows United States law. But the provision of the Communication Decency Act, particularly Section 230, says that no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as a publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. In other words, online intermediaries that host or republish speech are protected against a range of laws that may otherwise be used to hold them legally responsible for what others say and do. This is what gives immunity to platforms on the internet. And this is actually, Section 230 has been under fire from people on the internet for giving too much protection for platforms to the point where they've been censoring people and not being held under this precedent of, or under this provision of being, if they censor things on their platforms, they become a publisher and they're no longer a platform. But here we have people in the Canadian government saying that they are in fact producers, not platforms. See what they're doing here? They argue correctly that Vladimir Putin's propaganda machine is pushing false narratives, but then in the next breath, they make a massive leap that the solution is to bring in permanent changes to Canadian legislation that will impact things that have nothing to do with the war in Ukraine. In fact, this whole legislation is a way of bringing the CRTC down on, YouTube channels and online creators, online first creators, I believe they call them. So we had Viva Fry weigh in on this, and I'll just do a little excerpt from his show.
In Bill C-10, for those of you who don't know, they included an exclusion. It said this law will specifically not apply to social media accounts, to individual YouTube channels, to individual Facebook pages, to individual Twitter handles. The Liberal government in the dead of the night removed that exclusion, and then they were saying, well, why'd you remove the exclusion if the law is not going to cover individual social media accounts? Why'd you remove the exclusion? Guilbeault says in a convoluted, incomprehensible answer, the exclusion, it doesn't matter. We're not going to include them anyhow. But we removed the exclusion that specified that we were not going to cover them. Then later on admitted, yes, we're going to come after individual social media accounts if they're big enough that they can be deemed to be broadcasters. The law died because it never got through the Senate before the parliamentary session ended. The law was dead. Bill C-11 picks up from there. That's the context.
There we go. And he's reading an article, and this is the article here, from Michael Geist. Why has the government's defense of Bill C-11 been so cartoonishly misleading? Here we have cartoon saying, no, the changes only apply to companies. The main difference is, you'll notice, is more Canadian movies and TV for you to discover if you want to. Watch on. It's cartoonishly misleading. You go down the article here, and there's a particular point. The tone of the government's communication on Bill C-11 was established from the very beginning in the very first speech from Rodriguez in the House of Commons. He stated the proposed amendments in the Online Streaming Act regarding social media would not apply to content uploaded by users or the users themselves. This too is misleading since there are exceptions to the exception that does mean that the bill may be applied to content uploaded by users, particularly for digital first creators, podcasters, or otherwise streamers who may benefit commercially from their uploads. Now, what does this mean? It means the CRTC regulations fall under will fall on channels like mine, like Viva Fry, like a lot of the channels that you enjoy. Now, what are a lot of the CRTC regulations? Well, it would be the Canadian content laws, but not only that, they have specific decency regulations, things that you may or may not say online, which would include forms of censorship. So you wouldn't be allowed to say certain things. They may even put language laws into some of this stuff. I know in Canada we have language laws. We have to, broadcasters would have to provide their content in both official languages, and this is not something that anyone's used to on the internet, or anyone would be happy to accept as part of the internet and internet culture. And this is internet culture is a global culture of people that have come together, and it feels a lot like almost a Chinese style Great Firewall that's going up around Canada. And this is what a lot of people are fearing in this scenario. If you have any opinions on this, leave them in the comment section down below. I'd love to read them. We'll see you in the next video, and keep on trucking.